Okay, we got to jump because I know Tina wants us to talk about this question. I think it's in Monday's lesson, right? Monday's lesson? Helping your neighbor. Helping your neighbor. We won't answer the question, who's our neighbor? Because I think we understand every human being in need is a neighbor. So that one's answered. But the question is, that I want to ask, and we talked last week about providing a need and what that need might be. This week I want to ask the question, what are some reasons not to help your neighbor? Are there biblical reasons not to help someone in a real need? Not the one in Corinthians where it says, he who shall not work shall not eat. That's not the need there is to let him work. So you're going to provide the need for him by not giving him a handout when he's able to work. His need is work. So you're going to provide that for him. So what are some biblical reasons when someone's in real need not to help them? Yes?
Well, if they come to you with their perceived need, but you, understanding God's perspective of them and salvation, you give them something that would hurt them, even if it's what they want right now, that would hurt them, then that's not helping your neighbor.
So number one is recognizing we don't give something that is not a need to somebody just because they think it's a need. So let me clarify my question a little more closely. When is the time not to give somebody their legitimate need?
Well, you don't give somebody money if they're a drug abuser.
Their legitimate need, that's what she was saying. We don't give something to hurt them. So you guys are going down the same line. So yes, we all agree we're not going to give somebody something that we know they will harm themselves with. Okay? Take that off the table. This is something that could actually help them. When is it biblically right not to do that? Oh, okay, there's one over here. And then so we're going to read out of Mark 6, 1 through 6. Jesus left there and went to his hometown, accompanied by the disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach them in the synagogue, and many heard him were amazed. Where did this man get these things, they asked. What's this wisdom that's been given him? Then that he even does miracles. Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't these his sisters here with us? And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, only in his hometown, among his relatives, and in his own house is a prophet without honor. He could not do any miracles there, except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their lack of faith. Did they have real needs? Real needs that would have helped them? But Christ didn't provide for those needs. There was a reason. What was the reason? There are times when you can see a real need in someone and that person is not open to be helped. That's one reason.
We place so much credence on healing and miracles, and that verse says he went to give them the living water. They didn't want it, so he just did a few miracles and left.
So whether it's living water, truths to heal the mind, whether it's physical healing, are there people that you can see in real legitimate need that you might actually have something that would genuinely transform their life, but they don't want it? Well, how about don't cast your pearls before swine? Now, does it say don't cast your criticisms before swine? Get your mind around it. Don't cast your condemnations. Don't cast your judgments before. No, don't cast your pearls, your words of wisdom. So you have to have discernment. They have legitimate need. But if their minds are hardened and they would only take it to abuse you, do you understand? They might kill you. But what happens to the conscience of the person who killed Stephen? They hardened their... See, they didn't actually destroy... Don't be afraid of the one who can destroy the body but can't destroy the soul. See, Stephen's coming up in the resurrection. We're going to see him in heaven. What were they doing to their own characters, their own conscience? They were destroying themselves. Don't cast pearls before people you know are going to use it to harden their own hearts even further. They have a real need, but you're not going to give it. I have much to say, Jesus said, but you can't now bear it. There's another example, though. There's one other reason why we don't. It's real important you recognize this one. Did Jesus ever withdraw from the crowds when they still had needs? Why? They have needs. He's got the ability. Why does he withdraw? Why?
Regeneration.
Personal regeneration. And we're going to come to this question about loving others as you love yourself. You see, one of the first rules in a psychiatric unit is staff safety, not patient safety. Because if the staff are not safe, then the patients are not safe and no care can be provided for the patients. You see the principle here? There are many good-hearted people that have a compassionate heart to help people, but they fail with this principle. And so the devil says, sister so-and-so, brother so-and-so. They're going to do good work. We're not going to divert them into pornography. We're not going to divert them into drug use. What are we going to do? We'll crush them. Let's bring so many needy people to them that they can't say no to anybody. And they'll exhaust themselves out and help no one. So the farmer who says, I'm going to donate all the crops on my farm to feed the hungry peoples of the world. Because I just have a heart for people. I want to feed the starving. He is so committed to not being selfish, he won't even eat one meal a day off his farm. How many does he feed in the end? None, because he starves to death. There are other, Jesus said to when the woman anointed his feet, give this to the poor. You will always have the poor. You only have me for a short time. He wasn't saying neglect the poor. But now the principle. We must love our neighbors as ourselves. What does this mean? Love our neighbors as ourselves.
Tim, would you also be saying that a person who really feels that there's a huge need to intervene because you're doing it beneficially and with charity in your heart and everything, unless you have thinking above level 4, you're really missing the mark then.
There's truth in that too. But I want you to get clear. Really, you're going to have to. I think you're kind of cognating on the notes that I'm hitting here today. But if you haven't really thought of this before, you're going to have to spend some time thinking about this to really find in your heart where that line is drawn. But
Back to your question, how do you love?
yeah, that's what we're going to get to right here. Love others as you love yourself. Can people? Let me put it this way: can you love other people if you don't love yourself?
It's about putting your oxygen mask on first.
No, she said it's about putting your oxygen mask on first in the airplane, right? That's a good one. Yeah. Same principle here. If you are unconscious because you were trying to help everybody, you really don't help anybody, do you? Okay? So here's the principle. That's exactly right. If a person doesn't have, now we're not talking narcissism, egotism, self-exaltating attitude of self-promotion. Oh, it's me, I've arrived, everybody bow down and worship. That's not love. And that's a counterfeit. Many people think, oh, you're just putting yourself first. No, we're talking a healthy love as a child of God in a relationship with Him, valuing who you are as His being. If you don't have love in your heart, you don't have any, then can you have any love to give to anybody else? You can't give what you don't have, okay? So you have to come to a place where you experience love in your own heart first. Then ask for me, and it comes from the relation with God. Woman at the well, ask for me the water of life, which is the water of love. It would well up inside you and overflow to many, but it has to come from inside. You have to have it in you first, because people who do not love themselves well, instead of seeking to give and to share and to bless, they seek to get. They are drawing from others rather than giving to others. They seek to get love, to get assurance, to get acceptance, to get validation, to get approval, to get praise, to get security, to get to be liked. And if they don't get it, they do lots of behaviors that seem like they're helping somebody else. They'll go clean someone's house. They'll go buy them flowers. They'll do all this. But what are they doing it for? They're doing it to get liked, to get love, to get approval. And if it doesn't come, I see if I ever clean your house again. See if I ever wash your car. See if I ever do this. You don't even care about me. You say, my friend, you don't even care. I did all this for you. You don't even care. Why? Because they're seeking to get. And these relationships are codependent, if you will use psychiatric terms, and they always die. They're destructive relationships. You cannot be sustained. So you can't love someone else. You can't do it until you first love yourself well. And that loving yourself well is a healed experience, like the one at the well experienced with Jesus Christ. And then in closing,